Okay, now let me introduce my next guest. I want to give her a proper introduction. She is a writer, producer, director of Stranger at Home, the untold story of American military mental health. Contrasts 3 stories, 3 veterans, 3 generations, 3 wars, and it is profound. The mental health reform is so crucial right now in the military. Tomorrow, there's going to be a live stream event on Facebook at 4 p.m. Pacific time, Stranger at Home documentary. Follow that on Facebook, Stranger at Home documentary. But now let's please welcome to the Zoom stage, Beth Dolan. Hi, Beth.
Hi, Maureen. That was awesome. I wanted to listen to Marilyn longer.
Isn't she one? I know she's
one. Oh my goodness. She's
great.
Yes.
Sensible, warm, smart. I don't hang out with crap, Beth. That's why you're here.
I'm getting that. And I'm really honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm honored to have you. So let me ask you this. This film, Stranger at Home, the untold story of American military mental health.
Yeah.
I have a clip. Can we start with the clip?
Absolutely.
And take it from there.
Okay.
This is a clip of the film, and what I want to set up is the man. You'll see a young man in this with a beard, and his name is Stephen Elliott. And sadly, he has to carry a burden that, in friendly fire, caused the death of Pat Tillman. And that has, I mean, can you imagine? So here we go. Here's a bit of a clip for you folks, Stranger at Home.
We use psychology to develop ways to efficiently train people how to kill. We haven't applied that same research and emphasis on how to help people best deprogram that.
2006, there was definitive evidence to show that you should never send someone who has PTSD back into combat. And yet we did it.
We're knowingly re-exposing people to levels of traumatic stress that we know is unhealthy.
PTSD was riddling my system, and I couldn't allow myself to receive help that was waiting there for me. I had to get to a place where I was helpless, and I was willing to rest in the care of others.
The military puts us in an ethical dilemma because our clients are not only the active duty with PTSD or depression or grief, but our clients are the military as an officer and a military psychologist. So our expectation from the military as a mental health provider is that we're going to find people, we're going to treat them if they need to be treated, but generally we're going to send everybody back to the front lines. So there are a lot of people I sent back whose wives or husbands pleaded that this person is not in their right mind, they shouldn't go back. But that individual was telling me they're fine, and I knew in my heart they weren't fine. Their wife or husband told me they're not fine, but I couldn't convince the commander not to take them.
Absolutely painfully riveting. Beth Dolan, the producer, co-director of Stranger at Home, about the mental health, the untold story of American military mental health. Wow.
Yeah, it's not a rom-com.
No. But it's important. It's powerful.
It is, and you know what's interesting, or what I continue to share is I've met so many other wonderful doc filmmakers, and I know you've had your hand in those worlds as well. Mm-hmm. I've met many other doc filmmakers who are doing stories about the military story, mental health, and all the prisms of perspective, and they're all wonderful. There can't be enough stories, but ours gets under all of that, and we're here to spotlight, you know, why there is 20 suicides a day. So there's just the journey of making this film and of finding these particular veterans who had these really underneath its story to share was what made me and my team say, whoa, we got to go big or go home.
I want people to hear that. What you said is there are 20 military people who serve our country, who keep us safe, who fight for us, who are so friggin' brave. 20 of them, 20, if you line them up a day, committing suicide.
That's active duty, that's veteran, and that statistic is still from 2014 RAND reports. So we're looking at that, and with COVID, the year of COVID, and more isolation, and all of those stressors that put everyone into those darker places, depression, PTSD, all COVID has just really pushed those numbers probably even further. So
what I want people to know about this film, when is the release date of Stranger at Home?
Thanks for asking. We're looking, we've hunkered down during the pandemic to really just move on post-production, and we're looking at the fall of 2021 as the beginning of our distribution journey. So we're effectively in pre-distribution phase right now, and it's just getting the word out, getting more of an audience, building an audience with us. And there's, quite frankly, there's a real listening now for these topics of trauma and PTSD. God knows we've all been through it in the last year. Mm-hmm. It's not just it's a military focused story, but there's a listening now for that story because there's an empathy, thanks to a pandemic, there's a conversation.
Yeah, and to that end, these are personal stories. These are personal stories, and I want to get into some of the people in this film. But I want people to know that tomorrow you're going to have a live conversation, and people who are in this film are going to be included. And you guys, it's right here on Facebook, just like what we're doing. All you have to do is support this because you're supporting America. You're supporting the people who lay down their lives for you, and it makes me so emotional. It's so emotional. I have a brother who served in Desert Storm, and he struggles. So you go, it's Champion Mental Health. It's tomorrow, Wednesday, the 31st. That's at 4:00 Pacific time. And you just go to Stranger at Home documentary. There's a Facebook page, Stranger at Home documentary. It's that easy. And if you go, oh, but I want to be reminded, I'm such a, my head gets all dopey. All right, go to strangerathome.org, and then you'll get a little ping. Hey, it's time. Okay. That's all. How easy is that? And then you're supporting people who deserve to be supported. I have another short clip here. Superstar Beth Dolan, who helps people. You help people. I got to help people. I got to do more.
You just did. Can you be on my promotions team, please?
I will. I am.
You are. This is incredible. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. My little chat show. So I want to show another clip of, these are some of the people who are presented in Stranger at Home. So, it's not like you're going to like a class with statistics. There are statistics, but not like a chalkboard lecture. It's from the heart. Here we go.
Get the 2 or 3 up! These bodies, they're stacked up like
being a Marine is something I'm really proud of, but I see the psychological impact that I come to the table a little bit broken.
I was 19 and I had to mentally prepare myself to die.
Okay, anybody else want to cry? But it's real, and people have to face this. And one of the stories of that young woman, the young guy, that it's different age people. But one of the things, one of the fellows, it's because the burden of Stephen Elliott. Set up who Stephen Elliott is for those just tuning in right now.
Yeah, well, that clip that we just watched, we interviewed so many incredible veterans, family members, everything in our research and development. And that was a really early clip before we really arrived at our story, which is 3 veterans, as you've been saying at the top of your show, 3 veterans from 3 different war generations. They're our main storytellers. One is a whistleblower, one is Stephen Elliott, and the other is a colleague of both of them, and they're 2 doctors of psychology. So that's our intimate, that's the story, that's the release that's coming out, the film itself. I love seeing the older clips because so many veterans informed our storytelling as we went along. Stephen Elliott, though, to your point. So I'll never forget the day he walked in and sat down and did an interview with us in rainy, cold Seattle. He was from the Northwest at the time. Yeah. And he walked in, and he had been sent to us by our main storyteller, the main voice of the film, Dr. Mark Russell. He said, you have to meet Stephen. And the way he said it was, he was directly involved in the friendly fire incident that killed Pat Tillman. So, I'm from a big Irish American family, Irish Catholic family, and football is a huge thing. I've got 5 brothers, and it's just, Notre Dame and the whole nonsense. I grew up watching football. I can play football, but I don't care about it. But that pinged my mind, and I had to look up truly what had happened and realize that, whoa, this was a big story. And
can you fill people in a bit?
I will. Pat Tillman, I believe he played for the Cardinals. He had just signed a huge multi-million-dollar contract. This was in 2003, I believe it was. He's a young man. He's 21, 22, maybe a little bit older. Stephen, our guy, was about 21. And it was earlier than that, actually. It was post 9/11, almost immediately post 9/11. And so many young men and women at that time, because of that trauma, said, I want to sign up and defend my country. So Pat Tillman left his big NFL contract. Stephen Elliott, in his hometown in Kansas, in business school at the time, smart young man, going forward, thinking about being a lawyer. He says, I'm going to sign up too. And they both moved into the Army Ranger Regiment, which is kind of like Navy SEALs. It's kind of like the elite corps of the Army. He wanted to be on the front line, Stephen, as did Pat Tillman, and they met in the Ranger Regiment and were deployed together to Afghanistan in 2004. It was their very first deployment, and they were in country for about 6 weeks doing all kinds of just exercises, no real mission. These are highly trained, Army guys now, and they get their first, sort of recon where they had to go out. And it was a complete kerfuffle. Their breakdown in communications, trucks broke down. Their commanding base was saying, you got to drag this truck back. They split up their element. That's what happened. That was the order that came down. And apparently, I've learned that's the dumbest and worst thing you can do when you're out in really sort of very dangerous territory, is to split up your element, because communications can go south. And they did. And so Stephen was in one element. He was a gunner on one of the trucks. And Pat Tillman was with the other element. They had been sent off to do something else. It was nightfall in these big canyons in Afghanistan, and the light is not, people can't see very well. Stephen's element, they came into an IED. So an IED is an underground explosive that's planted, and their truck rolled over it. And so there was this, casualty feeling that was going on. And the commanding officer of Steve's element said, there's enemies. And up on a ridge were Pat and his element. And Stephen's element thought that they were enemy. They couldn't see. And they were ordered to start firing in that direction.
He was ordered?
Yes.
Stephen Elliott was ordered to shoot in the direction of Pat Tillman.
That's right.
That poor fellow.
Yep. So
go ahead.
So, no. So to wrap the story up, yeah, they ordered, it was over very quickly. they got Steve's element out of there. This is all Steven's point of view. And it wasn't until nightfall and the whole platoon is now going back to the forward operating base in the dark, like a 5-hour drive, that Steven saw the other gunner that fired in the direction. There were 2 that fired. So they'll never know, which is also weighs on the mind. He saw this guy with his head on his chest and said, and he said, "What's going on?" And he said, because word was starting to trickle back that there were 2 KIA and 2 wounded in the afternoon's affair, and that Pat Tillman was one of them. And this other gunner said to Stephen, he said, "I fired in that direction. I could have been the one." And then it hit Stephen that I too fired in that direction and I could have been the one. So both of them traveling back to the forward operating base. And so from there, everything fell apart. What the American public does not know is that the Tillman family was actually lied to. His mother, Pat Tillman's mother, was told that her son died saving his other fellow Rangers by charging them, a ridge. It was a friendly fire. That's all that it was. It was an accident. So they painted this more heroic picture. The family at a football stadium in front of thousands of people on national television was awarded the Purple Heart for this heroic gesture. So it was a big story that got swept under the carpet and got a spin put on it. Stephen, who actually killed him, his friend and his colleague, had no idea this was going on. He was still in country. Meanwhile, he was getting written up for poor weapons use. He was ordered to shoot. He was highly trained. He was ordered to shoot, but they wrote him up as poor weapons, and he was immediately moved out of the regiment and given a driving job back in the States, driving like a brigadier general around. Meanwhile, his life was falling apart. He had no idea the impact of this. And what he said to me, and I'll wrap it up, is that there are thousands and thousands and thousands of friendly fire stories.
Yeah.
But because this one drew such public attention because of who it was, still, family lost their son, a family lost their brother, he lost a friend. Because of who it was, that's why it got so much attention.
Of course.
And, so anyway, he's personifies PTSD, right, and that impact. So that's his story. And he openly shared his heart with us. So he's.
What I want to, if you're just tuning in, filmmaker Beth Dolan, her movie Stranger at Home, the untold story of American military mental health. We're going to go on to some other people who are featured in this documentary.
Yeah.
We were just mentioning Stephen Elliott, who had the unfortunate burden that friendly fire he may have, or another man with him may have been the reason that Pat Tillman died. There are many instances, as you say, of friendly fire. Before we move on, though, I want to let people, before we move on to other topics, I want people to know that you're doing a really great thing tomorrow on Facebook Live. This is what's so great about Facebook Live, you guys. You can really connect with people like Beth here, and then you can go watch tomorrow at 4 o'clock Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time, Champion Mental Health on the Facebook page, Stranger at Home documentary. Just go like it now. I won't even be mad at you if you just go over there and come right back. Just go to, I would do that for you because I'm all about love. Go to Stranger at Home documentary and just sign up tomorrow. And if you go, oh, but Maureen, I'll do that immediately. But what if I forget? Oh, that's okay. Go to strangerathome.org and just sign up. You don't have to if something comes up, but nothing's going to come up. This is important because these are people who serve us. And what we can do is honor them by watching. There's going to be people on the panel. Will Stephen be there or he's not on the panel?
No, Stephen will be there and his wife is joining him. This is her story too.
Wow.
What people don't know, thank you so much for that. Just go over to strangerhome.org. I really appreciate it.
Well, how can we support it too financially? Can we do something?
Well, it's right there on our film site. Every dollar that has been raised has been done through contribution. to this film in the time that we've been making it. So, you know, we have our portal right there to contribute. And if a tax break is important to you, this is a fiscally sponsored film, which means it's a 501c3 project, and you get to claim a tax credit if you want to contribute, and it means something to that contribution. You want that write-off. So most people contribute because they want to contribute. So.
And listen, you know what? If you pay what you can in my accounts, I will pass that along to Beth. It's at paypal.me, Molangan, Venmo at Molangan. So this way, you just, whatever, $5, $10, I will pass it on to her.
Yeah.
Share the information. Our good friend is saying, right, share this. Go like the page, tell everybody, share this while you're watching now. We've got to support people who have fought for us. And just on a lighter note, our good friend Molly McCloskey Barber, she was the romper room lady in the New Jersey, New York tri-state area. And you and she went to college together, I understand.
We did. Hi, Miss Molly. Hi.
We love you, Miss Molly.
We love you. God, look at us. There's 3 Irish chicks here.
I know, right?
And Molly, right? Yeah, she just had a birthday too. So,
happy birthday, Molly. Yeah, so, support you guys. Oh, and my Don't Make Me Hate You t-shirt, by the way, you can get that at maureenlangan.com. We got masks. We have it all. And if you want to subscribe to the show, I do it every week at Tuesdays. I might start doing it in the evening. You'll let me know what you think. But you can go to Patreon, and that's a really good way to support the show and keep guests like Beth coming on, or Marilyn Dash, the pilot who was here earlier, patreon.com. And you could subscribe beginning at $5. And there's different levels. So you can get a t-shirt at a certain level. You can do a wine party. We can do some public speaking or coaching. There's different things at different levels. So just keep that in mind. Thank you. So, all right. A big shout out to Sheila Higgins and Jenny McNulty, who brought you to my attention. They're watching. Thank you, you gals, for sharing her with me. So before we move on from Stephen Elliott, because I think he has to embody the mental health needs at one of the highest levels to carry that burden. How does a man like him reconcile his soul to what he's been asked to do for his country by no fault of his own? How do you reconcile that?
That's a great question, and I'll be sure I ask him that.
Please do. You want me to write out some questions for you for tomorrow?
Please do. I'm taking a page from your hosting skills. I'm moderating this panel. I know these guys, and I know the subject matter, but man, that's a great question. And he's come a long way. I mean, it's over 16 years. He lost his marriage, alcoholism, the whole path.
Really?
The woman that he's still with, he remarried his wife. She's joining us on the show. So their journey together is pretty extraordinary. I don't think recovery from any trauma, and I'm speaking to everybody right now after a year of a pandemic, happens overnight. It's a process, and it has to be done with a lot of love and compassion and zero stigma, which is what this show is about. Our championing mental health. We're there to champion each other, our mental health, and it couldn't be a better first show than to do it with this cast that I love. That they move me every time I watch the clips. I've known them for so long, but I watch the clips, and something in my heart just opens just a little bit more. So he has quite a story, as do our other 2 guests, our main cast, and they're there to also talk about topics that are massive for all of us right now. Trauma.
And it's an hour show, so it's an hour. You'll learn a lot in an hour. Has he been able to reconcile him? Has he found some peace?
Yes. Yeah, of course. And like I said, it's not an overnight process. He's got a deep spiritual life. I think that would be his first answer. That's what he shared with us in that early interview. How a deep spiritual life. And as you saw in the clip, he had to be willing to get help. He had to be willing to pry his hands off of his own life, the steering wheel of his own life, and say, as a male, a military male, I need help.
Can I show the clip again for those just jumping in, perhaps?
Sure.
Do you have time to hang out with me another 10 minutes?
Heck yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
All right. Here's this is a clip from Stranger at Home, the untold story of American military mental health. It'll be released hopefully the fall of 2021, and you can support it by going to Stranger at Home documentary right on Facebook. It's just, throw $20, $5, the price of a bottle of wine, whatever you can. If you can do more, do more. It's tax deductible. It has all those numbers behind it, 503821 thing. So you could I was an English major, not math, whatever. But whatever. I don't know what you're talking. No, I know what you mean. It's tax deductible.
Yeah.
And tomorrow, go like her page right now, Stranger at Home documentary, right now on Facebook. Just like it. Don't make me hate you. So the gentleman in here, that is Steve Elliott, and he will be on this panel tomorrow.
With his wife.
His wife that he remarried once he got spiritual, and once he stopped the drinking, and once he got the mental help that he needs, that we all need. We all need mental help, but these soldiers and these men and women serving us, big time, they need support. So here we go.
We use psychology to develop ways to efficiently train people how to kill. We haven't applied that same research and emphasis on how to help people best deprogram that.
2006, there was definitive evidence to show that you should never send someone who has PTSD back into combat. And yet we did it.
We're knowingly re-exposing people to levels of traumatic stress that we know is unhealthy.
PTSD was riddling my system, and I couldn't allow myself to receive help that was waiting there for me. I had to get to a place where I was helpless, and I was willing to rest in the care of others.
The military puts us in an ethical dilemma because our clients are not only the active duty with PTSD or depression or grief, but our clients are the military as an officer and a military psychologist. So our expectation from the military as a mental health provider is that we're going to find people, we're going to treat them if they need to be treated, but generally we're going to send everybody back to the front lines. So there are a lot of people I sent back whose wives or husbands pleaded that this person is not in their right mind, they shouldn't go back. But that individual was telling me they're fine, and I knew in my heart they weren't fine. Their wife or husband told me they're not fine, but I couldn't convince the commander not to take them.
Very powerful. Beth Dolan, the director, producer, writer of Stranger at Home. The gentleman speaking in that worked in the military. Mm-hmm. I was wondering, and I was reading a lot about you in the film, but why we always hear that the military, we're taking care of our vets. We hear every administration say we're taking everyone. We've got to take care of our vets. The vets they should all have like gold in their pockets and the best homes. They should be revered at the highest levels, not be homeless in gutters or just so needing of that kind of mental health and been left alone. What the hell is not changing, and why? Why are they not getting why? This seems impossible. And why are they being thrown back into a situation that really caused them what we used to call shell shock, but now we call PTSD?
Yeah, there's the conversation we're going to have with all of them tomorrow night about the essential need that military mental health policy has to change. And that, to your other point about Steve and how's he reconciling this, he's giving back. He's part of that cohort of veterans, the three men you just met, mm-hmm. who are focused on changing military mental health policy. That policy has been in place for over 100 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's such a long conversation, and I know you don't have time for it, but
Yes, and you can talk about whatever you like.
I'll tell you this. We do not have a reentry program, a mental health reentry program for our soldiers returning. The last time we did, this is startling, get ready. The last time we did was in 1946 when FDR served 3 terms in office, and he saw the returning troops, men at the time, of course, coming back from World War II, dead in their eyes, gone, shell shock, you just said it, really serious psychiatric wounds. He said to the Department of Defense, as our commander-in-chief, he said, we must do better, we will do better. We're going to create a program, a reentry program for these soldiers, right off the transport ships, not back to their homes, right off the transport ships. We're going to create a program. It's going to have alternative therapies, art therapy, music therapy. It was cutting edge. Sports therapy.
Wow.
Talk therapy, job, vocational training to be able to return to another job, family integration therapy. This was part of a reentry program that FDR mandated the Department of Defense to do. And they did. And here's the startling part. John Huston, director, was in the Army at the time, a young officer. And he, as a filmmaker, was co-opted by the Army to document this program. And he did. And there were no actors in it. It was truly soldiers coming off the transport ships. He documented it. There's a record of it. So you see these people dead, these soldiers behind their eyes with all kinds of symptomology and conditions. And then you see them at the end of, I believe it was a 3-week or a 6-week program before they go out into the public world. And the transformation was startling, like successful, startling.
Is this accessible, the work that John did?
Yes. I'm gonna give you one more little startling thing, and I'm gonna tell people where they can watch the film. This film had its New York premiere, and it was confiscated by the military police at that time. This is 1946. They paid for the film. They followed FDR's instructions. They put the program in place, and then they said, uh-oh, we don't want people to know that this program worked. They confiscated the film from public viewing. They shelved it. They classified it. And it wasn't until Jimmy Carter's administration, like 35 years later, that the film was found, dusted off, and declassified. You can watch it. Here comes the title. You can watch it on YouTube. It's called Let There Be Light.
Okay.
It's melodramatic. It's black and white. It's startling, but it's a program. It's a blueprint of a program that worked. So FDR died in office. The war ended. The program, of course, evaporated. And there has
how come, of course? Like, first of all, I don't understand why the military wouldn't be like, look what we're doing. It's working out. Isn't this great? We're helping. Like, wouldn't that be a plus?
Yeah, you think that's the underlying story here, that we're told one thing out here, that that the military's doing their, everything they can for their troops, and yet we still have a 20 suicide per day statistic, which is heinous. There should be, 1 is too many.
So there's a reentry program. Is there?
No.
That you get off the ship or the plane, and it's like, good luck to you, person with PTSD.
There has not been one since that time. And that is one of the massive, just no-brainer solutions that this story and our intimate storytellers are saying this has to be put in place. A reentry program for our the people that serve, to deprogram them from this killing machine that they were trained into. There's no reverse of that happens for them. And so this is where, they leave and they end up in Walmart right off the, there was more time on the transport ships for decompression. But today you can be in country on a plane and in Walmart with your family the next day, and you have no idea where you are. And thus the title, You Are a Stranger at Home. So the fact that there is no program, mental health program, that it's a huge story that we're talking about in this film, to take a real look at what isn't there, to really say this is what needs to be there so we can handle the homelessness, the incarceration, the suicide, that understanding. So yeah, there's an interesting spin. We're asking the military, these guys, not me, these guys are asking the military that they loved, that they trained with, that they still love and respect. Our main storyteller is 26-year career military. He was a whistleblower, military psychologist.
Let me set this up. In the film, there is a military fellow. What is his name?
His name is Dr. Mark Russell, and
Dr. Mark Russell is in the film. He's so accessible. He was in the military for years, tried to bring attention to the issues of mental health, was a whistleblower. So tell us what happened to him. Will he be at the
Yep, he's going to be on the panel tomorrow night with Steve Elliott and with their other cohort, Dr. Charles Figley, who's also a world-renowned trauma psychologist. He's a Vietnam Marine vet.
So let's put that out there tomorrow. Mental health, champion mental health, live on Facebook. Just go to Stranger at Home documentary. Like it now. I'll let you take a bit. I'll let you have a second break to go do that because I'm all big-hearted. And it's tomorrow, Wednesday, the 31st of March, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Stranger at Home documentary right here on Facebook. Just go like it. And it's only an hour. It is really their red carpet event. And they are going to have this whistleblower who is working like a dog to fix these issues. Stephen Elliott, who sadly was part of that friendly fire that killed Pat Tillman. And one more.
His name is Dr. Charles Figley, and he works in cohort with the other two. So they're just three veterans that are deeply focused on changing the policy that is the status quo that keeps this mental health crisis cycling around. You know, so they're all about the solutions. They're not about disrespecting their military, but they're asking the military to be held accountable.
I think Harry can help. I think you got to get Harry.
I think so.
Harry can help. I believe in Harry.
Oh yeah.
If you know Harry, like I know Harry, because
can you get Harry? Can you get Harry? Because
I can. He's going to be on my show next Tuesday.
You're going to host the next Championing Mental Health episode. You get Harry. Get him on.
I will. I get Harry. I might be Harry Schlossensinger from across the street, but it will be Harry. I'll meet him at Katz's Deli in New York, and I'll bring him.
Yeah, he's been such a voice for mental health and the military piece in England. Now, they changed their policies in England. That's a whole other story that we'll get to tomorrow night. The MOD, not RD, we have a DOD. They have an MOD. They had so many PTSD lawsuits brought against them that they finally agreed to change their policy. Their numbers in PTSD have come down. Their suicide rates have come down. So their policy changes include zero stigma. Stigma is the big issue in the military. They weaponize it. If you get sent to someone like Dr. Mark Russell when he was serving as a military psychologist, if your commanding officer is sending you to him, he has to, by orders, write you up as a personality disorder. And if they want to get rid of you because of that, because you're acting up, you're drinking, you're beating up your wife, you can't handle your fifth deployment anymore, he has to write that up. And then when you come out, you are not honorably discharged and you can't get job. That's right. That's right. So it's stigma. I mean, that's what he had to live with as a military psychologist. That is part of the policy still in the military, that you are weak. I'm going to use some words that he used. You're considered a limp dick. You're weak for having mental health issues.
And you cannot be honorably discharged.
You're not honorably discharged. Then you cannot get jobs in security, in police work, those areas where veterans really could serve again and have a purpose again.
Do you get discharged, but is it considered a dishonorable discharge, or you just discharge without honors?
Correct. Discharge without honors. It's a mark against your record that you had personality disorder, psychiatric disorder, which the stigma then carries over here in society. See, if the military changed their policies about stigma and had a zero stigma tolerance, which is what the MOD did in England, and their rates and their performance with their troops came up. Their rates for depression and suicide came down. They removed that stigma, among other policy changes. You have a stronger fighting force. You have a mentally fit, balanced fighting force where they're talking about your brain is going to change. We're going to train you to kill or be killed. Your brain's going to change, but we're here for you, rather than we're going to train you and we're really not here for you.
We just throw you to the wind.
That's still...
Two things I'm hearing here is after FDR implemented this come home and heal kind of policy and integrate your family, that the military did not like when John Houston, is it Houston? I'm from New York, Houston. I know Houston, Houston Street.
That's right.
When he documented all this and the military took the film away, and the film is called Let There Be Light. I will post the link. Sheila just shared it, but it's hard to, cut and paste that on but I'll post it. The military probably rescinded it because they didn't want to know that people were coming out with problems to begin with that needed healing, I bet.
Everything, they just was like, we're going to lose our fighting force. People are going to be asking for pensions. Everything came up. Do you know how much money it costs to manage all of these mental health disorders coming into society as a result of not being treated versus taking care of them at the beginning, during, and after? It's a crazy bit of business, but the military panicked and they just said, we don't want people to know that we know what's going on mental health wise. We know how to treat it. We don't want people to know that. And that's what that film shows us. It's a blueprint of therapy and how it works and how to treat. So
that was ahead of the time, and we've really gone backwards since 1946, haven't we?
We haven't budged. We just haven't budged. And there's more wars, and there's more, and soldiers are staying alive because of surgical, advancements. I mean, we take a page from the physical wounds of war. Our surgeries in our hospitals pay attention to the military and how they do it, how they reattach a limb, in the field, for God's sake. We take a page from that. We don't take it from the mental health side as well, but we have the resources, we have the knowledge. So it's up to them to be the chieftains in mental health, the military.
Okay, so so this panel tomorrow, and I'll give another plug before you head out, but
thanks.
What is the answer, Beth? I mean, do these whistleblower, does this doctor, he's a psychologist, right?
Right, Dr. Russell. Yeah, Dr. Russell. Yeah.
Does he have a pipeline to the Department of Defense? Are they hearing him?
He's got his own institute, the Institute for, I'm sorry, I'm blanking here. The Institute for Recovery and Social Justice is his organization. And that's a melting pot for all the resources to just create this groundswell and to, for everyone to learn this stuff and be a voice. And I think it's because of this pandemic time that these subjects are now, like I said, there's a listening for it, which is why we're doing the show and just bringing them out. They need all the help that they can get to get our Congress's attention and this is not a political show that we're doing.
It could be anything. It's whatever's real. Whatever's real.
It's like I just want to say that, Joe's the guy. Joe, his son Bo, I mean, there's a consciousness in the White House now that could look at this and say, oh, I'm going to just tell the DOD that they have to change their policies. But
I thought the prior administration supposedly did a lot to help veterans. I don't know. I have me in that particular show because I don't know anything about
pieces and fragments, but there wasn't a deep understanding or real knowledge of what's really needed here. I'm not casting.
Well, I'm not being political. I'm actually, if you know how I felt, but I'm just talking about realistically. I want to, the former journalist in me likes to know the facts. So it sounds like there was a respect for the military and there was help in certain areas, but not this area. People don't understand the depth of it, like Dr. Russell and
Dr. Figleaf, and that's
Figleaf. I'm going to call him Figleaf. I like calling him.
I know, I do that too.
It's just a funnier name. So Do you think that this message will get to Biden and a DOD and there could potentially be change?
Yeah, I do. I think we're tracking in that direction. Not that this film is the change agent, but it's a current record for what John Huston did of what's possible and what's needed. And yeah, so
yeah, tomorrow, this Champion Mental Health, the film Stranger at Home will be debuting, released in the fall of 2021. Champion Mental Health tomorrow, Wednesday, the 31st of March at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Right here, just go to Stranger at Home documentary Facebook page. That's it. Oh, Maureen, where do I go? I really want to see. It's a 1-hour panel. Dr. Mark Russell, the Institute of War, Stress, Injury, Recovery, and Social Justice will be on the panel. Stephen Elliott, who sadly was involved in a friendly fire shooting of Pat Tillman, talking about his marriage broke up. He got involved in alcohol and God knows what, suffered, and how he made a comeback by finally dealing with his mental health. It's so riveting, you guys. But, one of the things that I was reading that, Beth, you had written somewhere, is that you thought this issue, because it is our military, people would come out and support the making of this documentary and throw a few pennies your way, whether they can afford $500 or $5 or more, tax deductible, 401, 501, whatever. So I want people to know that they can go to strangerathome.org and make a donation, you guys. I know we're all in tough times. I get it. Believe me, my last gig was March 12th, 2020. Swear to God. It's insane. But just support strangerathome.org. And, even if it's the price of a Starbucks coffee or a bottle of wine, you can go one day and help somebody. I think it's I want you to do that. Don't Make Me Hate You. And you can support me by buying a Don't Make Me Hate You t-shirt on MaureenLangan.com. I would send you one. But listen, I wish you much continued success.
thank you for having me. This is not like I said, it's not a rom-com, and it's a deep dive. It's a big picture, and you stayed on so much longer. The interest.
Oh, no, I'm interested. I want to help. My brother is a Marine. You can't say was. Was a Marine, always a Marine. Okay, got it. All right, got it.
I'm from a military family too, so I get it. I have two brothers that were West Point guys, and so yeah, we all know someone who's in the military. We just do, and you have to know that they've all been part of this larger kind of trauma that we all kind of understand a little bit more because of COVID-19. That stress, you take their experiences and you just pump it up by 100 times. And but there's a relatability now. And I think that's what's important. So we're doing this live event series, just because the conversation's afoot, let's champion mental health. For each other, for the military, for all of us. We're there.
They're doing it for us, so the least we can do when they come back is support them. And this film is powerful. I can't wait for its full release. I've gotten to see clips and read a lot about it.
Thank you.
You're doing good work, Missy.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, Beth, all the best to you.
Thanks, Maureen.
Okay, again, Champion Mental Health tomorrow, Wednesday, the 31st, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, Stranger at Home documentary. That's the Facebook page. Just go right there. And I see Saran Rothberg, Comedy Cures. She has a great organization. And I promise you, I was supposed to get back to her. I promise you I'm going to have you on because you do such great work too. Next Tuesday, though, I believe, Michelle Ballin. She's a comic. She was on Last Comic Standing. Oh, my God. I was on the ships. There was a virus, but I had good wine. I don't know what to do. So she'll be joining me, and she's so fun. But listen, you guys, do what you can, right? Just chuck a buck, for God's sakes. And I really am pleading with you to do that. Strangerathome.org if you want to support that. A documentary like this, we should have a huge arts council, huge, that says, let's help Beth. And then when we have a little money left, we'll help Maureen. Okay, so all of this will be on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, and of course, did I just say that? Oh, distribution costs money. Just so you know, you got to get this out. How do you get this out? Somebody just said that to me, and they're right, and I know who said it to me. You have a couple more comments before I see you guys. Thank you, Sheila. Sheila co-produced this, I believe, or was one of the producers on it. Thank you for recommending the wonderful Beth, and yes, Michelle Ballin, the comedian. I think it's next Tuesday. She's going to join me. Yeah, Kai, let's talk about what'd she say? Ballin, railing with Ballin. Michelle, what's driving her crazy. We're going to have some fun. So follow Hanging with Langan on wherever you get your podcasts. Give it a good review. As you know, sometimes we're ridiculously silly here, and sometimes we're more serious because that's life, right? That's life. Be safe. Be good to each other. I think I have another message before we go. Thank you, Jenny, for introducing me. Yes, yeah. Everybody knows everybody. It's so much fun. This goes out everywhere. I get people from Ireland dropping in. I like that. Until we meet again. Bye, Wig. Mwah.